seasoned speaker who has taken the mic on NBC, the CW, and Fox, as well as on stages ranging from TEDx, Mind Valley, the American Heart Association, Lululemon, and many more. Suzanne Adams is creating a powerful ripple of inspiration and positivity. She is on a mission to help you reach your highest potential. Suzanne is a best-selling author of Girl Awakened and has impacted thousands through speaking, her books, events, and programs across the globe. She is a thought leader in the fields of personal development, leadership, and consciousness, and cannot wait to help you manifest your dreams. Suzanne, I am so excited to connect with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm honored and excited to be here and to connect with you as well as your audience.
Yeah, this is such a timely conversation. I'm so excited about it because I feel like right around December of every year is when I personally start thinking about intentions for the following year and, what I want to manifest and bring into existence. And I think for all of us, 2020 has been such a unique and unusual year, and challenging in a lot of ways, right? And so I think many of us are just kind of thinking like, what will 2021 bring? There is a lot of unexpected energy. And so I think this conversation is so timely.
Yeah, 2020 has been really a true year of awakening. And I believe that for people that are newly awakening and for people like me and you that have been on this journey for a little while. I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I'm sure that you probably agree when you've had a new level of awakening this year too, right? And it is funny because I think for the first time in a very long time, collectively, everyone is looking at intentions and looking at creating and looking at purpose and soul expansion a little different for the new year this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true. And I think that, what you said really resonates with me in just the sense of this year bringing such a great level of expansion and growth. And I think it's so important to honor that because I feel like a new person from when we started the beginning of the year. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. So it's an exciting time of energy and growth and transformation. And so I'm really excited to hear about your own story of growth and transformation. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording and just how similar our stories are. And so I'd love for you to maybe share a little bit about your journey and how you started to do the work that you're doing in the world.
Yeah. So, I think like most people, I believe we can wake up through inspiration or through pain. And like most people, I took the route of pain and the route of really having to be jolted into an awakening. For me, it was, I really lived a very unconscious life in the beginning of life. I catered to what other people in society expected of me. I tried to fit into a box that didn't have my name on it. I cared so much about what other people thought. And I did all of these things on an unconscious level, which is the most unfortunate part about it, right? Like I just thought I was just living and this is life and this is what you do. And if you looked at me from the outside, and this is what you were saying was so similar, is it seemed like I had everything figured out. It seemed like everything was perfect. And I'd almost kind of tricked myself into believing that, right? And on the inside, I wouldn't really spend time on the inside. I was busy being busy. I was busy chasing accomplishments and chasing validation and numbing out in a variety of different ways. And it all caught up with me. And eventually I stumbled into a depression. And I got to the space and place where I felt very disconnected. I felt isolated. I can't describe the way I felt. All I knew is that something wasn't right. Everything felt off. I had this feeling of what am I even living for? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? And I had never asked myself those questions, but I had also never been like truthfully depressed. And I got to this space and place where I was numbing out with wine every single day. And I had told myself the story that if I waited till 5 o'clock, that it was okay. And so, cause it's like, let's have a glass of wine to take the edge off. It's 5. And that felt honestly kind of normal, which is sad. And, after a couple months of that, it hit me, and I was like, what am I doing? And this is not who I am. And it was this day, and I talked about kind of in the opening of my TEDx, where I was sitting staring at the clock waiting for 5 o'clock, and it was the 4:59, 4:59, 4:59. And that particular day, I fell to my knees, and tears just started streaming down my face. And for the first time, I went within, and I got still, and I got quiet, and I prayed, and I said, God, I know that there is more for me than this, and I need you to show me. And I had this ever knowing feeling in the pit of my stomach, this voice that I had been shoving down and numbing out, but this voice was just screaming like, you're meant for more. You're meant for so much more. And I listened for the first time that day. And instead of getting up and going for the wine, I got Google, and I started researching purpose, and I was activated. And I learned, I really was on a mission to learn about soul purpose, divine communication, energy, frequency, vibration, joy, happiness, and really just understanding from a higher level of consciousness what we're each doing here. And it was from that day on, it was a huge turning point for me. And I'm grateful for those moments of pain. And I'm grateful for that spiral of depression and that feeling of disconnection, because it's actually what activated me to shift and to change and to really start to come into a life of alignment and understand what true fulfillment is. And I believe when we're connected to our heart and our soul and our mission, that there is nothing that can shake that fulfillment. And there is no greater feeling of joy and happiness than that alignment.
Yes. I love everything that you said, and I can relate to it so much. And just the sense of like, really, I think we, can have a tendency to numb in different ways, and that looks like, different for every person. For myself personally, it was like the overworking and the over-exercising and other types of, addictions. But I think the commonality was just this resistance to going within, this ability to sort of distract and, continue on sort of this patterning that's so easy to do. So what did your life look like at that point in time? Like, what were you doing?
So again, this is what's funny is because I had a very successful career before. And I was doing consulting for a medical device company. So I was in operating rooms, training surgeons and consulting with hospitals. And it was a great job. I loved it. It was very fulfilling. I had worked very hard to be at the level I was at. And it was like something in my soul was just telling me like that had run its course. What's interesting too is I was renovating my home. So I bought a home when I was 24 years old in Atlanta, Georgia. And like I said, I was a go-getter from day one. And the way that, you actually related to me, the overworking and all that, because I was numbing in that way for years too, as well as being busy socially, right? Mm-hmm. And at this point in space, it was around 2013, excuse me. And I had been deeply in love with a man that I almost married, and we were going to lift off the roof of my house and make a second level and do all of these things. And I was like all excited for all of that. And then I realized that it wasn't really a fit, and it was hard because I was deeply in love and I wanted to get married because I was at that age where you're supposed to get married. And I was already past the age of where you're supposed to be, in the South, if you're not married by 30 or having babies, then people look at you like you're funny. You're like, I literally had someone say to me like, oh, you're pretty. Why aren't you married? Like it's this thing that we take on, and I was taking it on. Right. And so the relationship ended. We didn't end up moving forward with the marriage or the plans. And I realized like, okay, well, what do I really want? And that was one of the first times that I got still and asked myself, what do I want? And I was like, well, I still want to make my house better. I still want a home that's a sanctuary. And so I did this huge renovation to my home, all on my own, lifted the ceilings, pushed back the kitchen, created this oasis. I had an acre of land in the city in Atlanta, so it was pretty precious. And I kind of laugh because I was, the same time I was renovating my home, I was renovating my insides, you know, and it was a total reflection because I got, you know, just seeing dust all over the house and just seeing the process and seeing the transformation. And it was like I was transforming the same time my outer world was transforming, which I think is very a beautiful metaphor and very true for the way that we show up in the world.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think 2020 is a perfect example of that as well. It's just like this metamorphosis that we're seeing. And, you know, something that you shared that I think is powerful is like sort of this dark night of the soul, or this experience, like you mentioned, a downward spiral
Mm-hmm.
of sort of pain. And that can sometimes be like such a great catalyst to be like, okay, this is like really not working anymore. And I'm a true believer that like, our souls come in with like a purpose. So while it may not, you know, it may be a great path that we're on, but if it's not like what our souls intended to do, and if there's like a disconnect, we'll experience some type of disharmony.
Totally. And, you know, again, like my career before served me on so many levels. Like I have zero regrets. I have so much gratitude for that. And in fact, you know, one of my lanes of business now is I do corporate consulting, and I utilize so many of the gifts that I learned from that. Right. And with each and every relationship, it's growth for our heart and soul, and we get lessons. And so I don't think we can look at anything as a mistake because it's all on purpose. And looking at 2020 and looking at what's happening now, everyone has had the opportunity to go within. Everyone has had the opportunity to sit and get still and think, what's really important to me. Everyone has had the opportunity to think, to align their beliefs with what's inside of their heart, instead of maybe listening to a mainstream thing that may or may not be aligned, right? And so I think it's really important that we take that and we do that internally. We do that as a collective, when we really stand up for what we're being called to stand up for, in a way of a higher conversation, in a way with love, not like a me versus them way, because we do this internally, right? So like the example for me that I use all the time this year is I've really had to learn to love all of the pieces of me, because I don't
Mm.
like to look at my shadow. You know, and that's a huge part of loving the pieces, each piece of who we are. And when you can get to that, you have this new level of awakening and this new level of harmony and this new level of alignment. And that's what we're doing collectively too, is learning to love each other in the midst of where we might not all agree, and in the midst of chaos, and in the midst of certainty. If we can make love the higher conversation, we raise our vibrations and we feel better, and we really end up creating more harmony and more joy and more alignment.
Yes, I love that so much. And I think one of the things that is like, it's just being able to share the fact that it's a constant work in process and evolution and growth. And like, I feel like there can be sometimes a tendency to believe that like a spiritual awakening is like a one-time thing, you know, and then you're like done and it,
Nope.
you know.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. But it's like we are meant to just like continuously grow and evolve. And instead of like resisting, which like it's so, you know, easy to have a tendency to be like, oh, that's, you know, uncomfortable, or like this is really causing me some discomfort to look at this, but like going into the shadow, because then that will allow us to get to like another deeper level of growth.
Yeah, and you know what I've learned, especially over the years, but especially this year, is the more that we can just sit with that piece of discomfort, the more we let the light in, right? The more we give it a voice to hear it and be heard and dissipate. And also, it's like, whoops, so sorry that the wind is taking my door outside. Sorry for that. But the more that we can, it's like right when I said let the light in, that happened. God is speaking to us. You know, so I just think the more we can honor each piece of us, and it's like it dissipates it. And that's something that we resist the pain. We resist the pain. We resist the discomfort and the uncertainty. And I believe that when we're in that uncertainty, and when we can sit with that discomfort with a connection to source, with a connection to God, universe, whatever it is for you, we actually create the space to allow miracles to flow to us, because now we don't have control. We felt like we had certainty before, but we didn't. And now we just are all very aware of the uncertainty that we live in. But it's really a beautiful space and place to expand your faith and create expansion.
Yeah. What's maybe one thing that, you've gone into in this year in terms of like a challenging aspect, or, something that you're continuing to work on?
I think definitely being okay with really going with the flow, right? Really, really embracing uncertainty with trust. Because before, it's like uncertainty would happen, but then I would, like, in my mind would go to, well, I'll create a plan, and then that puts me back in a path of certainty, right? But it doesn't always work, but it was an illusion. It was this illusion of control I had. And so, like, an example is, a big part of my business is speaking. I was on, I think, 19 or 20 stages in 2019, which was amazing and fun, and also a little bit tiring, And so while, when 2020 came around, I was excited and ready and geared up to do all of the things, but also thinking like, oh, it would be nice to create some spaciousness. And I didn't quite want all of the spaciousness that I got with the shutdown, but I did. And so when that happened, I was just kind of sitting and thinking, like, what do I want this pivot to look like? Because I do look at everything as, how can I see the opportunity in this? Where is the opportunity? And I also believe that we can align our energy to what we want regardless of what is happening. And so I was like, how do I want to align to abundance? How do I want to align to really spreading my mission in a new way? Because that's what I'm going to be called to do. And then, Emily, it was so wild because my book, Girl Awakened, I wasn't planning on publishing it. Like, I've actually had that book written for 2 years, and I've been too busy to have the time and space to launch a book. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so all of a sudden, my inner guidance system, my intuition was screaming, Girl Awakened, Girl Awakened. And I have full body chills even talking about this, because it's the time of awakening, and people are awakening and they need this story. And so I pulled it out. It was really, really done. Like, I read through it once or twice. I did the Audible, I got the cover, and within like 6 weeks, I launched a book. And it's not, so I have an agent that is working with me on a nonfiction book. I didn't even take it to the publishing houses because
Wow.
the timing was now, right?
That's amazing, and
Yeah.
it's such an inspiring story, because it's like sometimes we can like push and push and push for something, and it's like just because we feel like, oh, I should do this, or I should write a book, you know what I mean? But like when we allow it to flow through and we're like intuitively guided, it's just things flow in such a different way. And that's one of the things that I really would love to talk to you about, because one of your biggest things is really talking about how our energy creates everything. And your TED Talk has over 1 million views. You talk about really using the tools of quantum physics to make your dreams a reality. And this is such a powerful thing, right? Like when we can wrap our brains around like how to shift our energy. So just like want to start there by asking you, how did you begin that journey of like starting to really play and start to subtly shift your own energy?
Well, it started with the awareness, because I didn't understand energy. Like, we taught, like, your very everyday person understands that we have energy, and like maybe working out gives you energy, or maybe, but most people don't actually understand energy, and how that we are such powerful creators, and how when we align our energy with our desires, we become magnetic, and the universe has no choice but to deliver them to us. And for me, it was really understanding. So just to give like a 1 to 2 minute high level perspective of my TEDx, is basically just really breaking down, understanding that quantum physics proves that everything ultimately is an atom and a molecule, which has a vibration and which is an energy. So like, I say in the talk, we have skin, bone, tendons, and hair, but we're truthfully energy. And it's like, when you understand that, there's so much power to it, because think, you and I are having this conversation right now. You're in Florida and I'm in California, and here we are, we're tuned in to a signal, to a vibration, to a frequency that is allowing us to connect, that's bringing us together. And when you think about it, you can do that with your own energy. And so you can attune your energy and tune in your vibration to ocean views, to speaking on TEDx stages, to launching best-selling books, right? And 2020 has been such a learning experience with this, right? Because I always say that we can allow our reality to affect our energy, or we can let our energy create our reality. And 2020, if people are letting your reality affect your energy, then you're probably feeling like shit, quite honestly, because the reality for some people is great, but for most people is unusual and chaotic and challenging and uncertain. And so when I look back to the beginning of it, I wanted to understand, like, once I started understanding, it was like all of these light bulbs, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is so exciting, because it means that we can really create. We can create anything that we want just with our thoughts and the way that we feel and the way that we show up, right? And so I understood in the beginning, like, I understood, you know, that feeling of someone walking in the room and lighting up the room and, you know, feeling excited. And I understood that. And I also understood the feeling of like, like low vibration. I don't want to go in that space or place, but I didn't understand how much our energy contributed to our happiness and to our purpose and the way that we feel. And so in those moments when I was telling you in 2013, when I was diving into every book I could get my hands on, every podcast I could get my hands on, and that's how I started to understand vibration and frequency. And I started meditating. I meditated every single day for almost 7 years. I haven't missed a day, because that is one of the things that really helps you align your energy and helps you to, you know, you think about it. We take a bath every day. Well, hopefully, hopefully every day for most people. We wash our dishes, we wash our clothes, but we're not taught about cleaning our energy and elevating our energy. And so conversations like this will up-level your energy. Obviously retreats, events, reading books, read Girl Awakened, and that will up-level your energy and clean your energy, right? Dancing, being in nature, doing things that make you feel good, essential oils, crystals, all of these things will activate new levels of energy that will help you to become magnetic. And so I could talk about this for like a whole weekend. But does that answer your question about how I got started with it?
Yeah, it does. You know, Suzanne, when I first got started, I didn't realize how negative my energy was. And so I know you talk about the Hertz sort of scale in terms of like emotions. And so I'd love to get into that, because I think that's one of the most powerful things. And I think as a collective, you know, we have so many feelings of guilt and shame and doubt. Like, you know, we've been sort of subtly conditioned not to trust ourselves. And so there is these undercurrents that, you know, maybe we don't individually feel all these things, but as a collective, there's so much of these vibrations, these frequencies that are in our society right now. And so becoming super cognizant and aware of those vibrations so that we're able to make a change and shift out of them, I think is so powerful.
100%. So to break it down for anyone that doesn't know what the Hertz vibration scale is, it's an upside down triangle. And at the bottom, it measures the actual frequency of emotions and feelings. And at the bottom is shame, grief, and fear. Okay. And then it goes up willingness, acceptance, joy, love, enlightenment. I may have mixed those up, but in that, you know, in that exact, in that arena. And so if you think about grief, shame, and fear. So first of all, just think about, even when I say the word like shame, most people's shoulders fall down, your arms want to cross, you might look down. And that is a very contracted energy. Now, it is an energy we carry a lot, right? So think about many women, you know, self-love was something that I learned very early on in this process. And it's something that really has transformed me. Excuse me. I have a tickle in my throat, and you know, it's like you get like cough shame in 2020 if you cough, you know. Okay, thank you. So if you think about shame, like a lot of women in particular and men, when we look in the mirror, I do this now because I know to do it, but I didn't. I used to look in the mirror and, ooh, or like, like this outfit doesn't look good on me, or look at that dimple, or gosh, my hair is a mess. And of course I have these thoughts sometimes still, but I intentionally now, when I look in the mirror, instead of having those feelings of shame, I'm like, ooh, go girl, you looking good today. Or like, look at those curves and those pants,
Love
and
that.
little things like that is the creating that awareness. So for everyone listening, start to notice the conversation, the loop in your head as you're looking in the mirror, as you look down at your body, or as you're having a conversation with someone else. So shame, grief, fear. And I'm not saying not to feel these emotions, because just like we were talking about earlier, actually free yourself of these emotions when you give them a voice and feel the discomfort and move through it. You do turn up your vibration and go up that scale. When you think about from a collective standpoint, there is a lot. And really, that's where I believe individually, we're here to shine our own lights and be a beacon in the midst of chaos. And so the more we can internally first learn to love ourselves, internally love to intentionally turn up our vibration every single day, whatever that looks like for us. And then we start to create this ripple effect. And we might walk into a room full of chaos, or full of unawakened human beings that are still stuck in that story of self-loathing and of shame, grief, or fear. Or maybe someone had a trauma. We all have traumas in our childhood that we're holding some of these lower vibrational energies. And I believe as we walk in, connected to our heart and connected to the light inside of us, we do start to shift that. We do start to open up, and we do start to heal, not only in ourselves, but for others. And so the more that we can consciously connect to that energy of love, connect to the energy of the high vibration from a state of acceptance and awareness, not trying to push down the other feelings, we feel amazing and on purpose and connected, just simply through that awareness and just simply through that consciously moving forward.
Something that I'm really curious about is you've spoken on these massive stages. And I was just wondering if that confidence is something that came naturally to you, or if it was something that you had to like really work on and manifest and cultivate over time.
I think it's both. First of all, I still get scared. Before I did my TEDx, I was like, like it was like, it's this energy. And I teach people how to speak and teach people to elevate their stage presence. And one of the things I teach is when you get that energy, when you have that fear, that anxiety, it's the same energy of excitement. And I also believe it's the juice coming in from the divine, right? And so perspective is one of those things. So I think I've always had a level of confidence in what I'm doing from a business standpoint. Mm-hmm. And when I coupled that with my awakening and the inner healing and the inner work, it really expanded to that. And I also built my speaking business over time. So I remember my very first speaking gig was like 12 people, and I was a nervous wreck. And I like walked on the stage and kicked over my glass of water, and I was like, oh my gosh, but it was 12 people and I did it. And then afterwards I felt so elevated. And then 12 people, that eventually turned into thousands. And it's just like anything, the more we show up and practice and really embody what it is that we're teaching, it changes everything. And for me, so one of my gifts is I'm able to shift and move energy in conversation with people. And most people don't even know it's happening. It was something I wasn't even aware of, until I started to do this. And so for me, one of the most fulfilling things is helping someone connect to their heart and soul, and helping someone move some of those low vibrations out of their body and bring in that higher source, love, grace, energy. And so it's like this thing happens when I'm on a stage or when I'm teaching, or even in this conversation right now for people that are listening, they might be feeling it, right? And watching people feel that high vibration and connect to their heart and soul. It's like it's built up that confidence and built up that excitement. So each time it gets more and more fun for me.
One of my favorite quotes is like the first time you do anything, you're going to suck at it.
Totally.
And I love that because, one of the biggest things I think that stops people from getting started is like the fear of failure or the fear of like sucking at something. And like it prevents us from like really going after our dreams. So I so love you sharing that, is like you start where you start and then you grow and get better and better through practice. And like not everybody comes on stage as like Oprah, and she didn't even, you know, she
Yeah.
had like you know, such a trajectory to her career through like practice and you know, hard work. And so I love that, because, you know, I think it's something that really can hold us back, but like just, you know, going for it. So what are some other tips that you have for like really manifesting and stepping into our heart and soul's desire?
Yeah, so I said it earlier, but I'll echo this because it's so important, is meditation. And the reason I say that is a number one tool where we can intentionally align our conscious and our subconscious mind with high vibrational energy, right? And so it's something that as everyone can do every single day. I have several free guided meditations on my website because I think it's so important that we take that 5, 10, 12 minutes, whatever it is, and really intentionally, that's what you're doing, is you're creating and you're sitting and you're cultivating that. Do you know what I mean when I just say that feeling of grace and love and purity? I'm sure that you do. And like, how awesome is it that we can take 5, 10 minutes to start our day with that, or end our day with that, or at 3:00 when we're crazy because the day's been busy and we're having a crash, instead of grabbing caffeine, what if we just did a 10-minute meditation and had a reset? I do that all the time. So I think meditation. I think 2, mindset. You can tell yourself whatever story you want. You can play the victim game. You can tell the story of it's a pandemic and no one's spending money. You can tell the story of I'm not enough. You can tell the story of no one wants to pay me for that. You can tell the story. Whatever it is, we have a choice of these stories. Or we can decide to align to the story. You know what? I have this calling, and I know that there is only a calling in my heart if it's meant for me. I believe my desires are from the divine, and they're going to show up for me. I know that whatever is happening for my best. I know that things are always working out for me. I know that no matter what on the outside, one thing I can control is my energy, the way I show up, the way I choose to look at things, what I connect to energetically, and I can create from that space and place. And I don't have to abide to the story of doom and gloom, and I don't have to worry about what's happening, because I know in my heart that I am connected to my faith and to my purpose and my soul, and that is all I need to know. And from that space, you can create anything. And it's a choice of which conversation that we want to loop in our minds.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think like tuning into the stories that we're telling ourselves is so important. And I think like trust is a big factor there. Like for me, it's like, okay, and how do I trust that story? Like if I haven't seen the proof yet of like, I can do this thing X that I want to like step into, or what I feel is my soul's purpose, like bringing that forward. Like I have no proof, right, of like that being able to come to fruition. And so like if there is that like negative thought form, or that like voice of doubt, of like trusting that I can really do this, like what advice would you have?
A couple things. So first of all, if you don't have the proof yet, get in rooms and spaces and places and conversations with people that do, because their proof is your proof, right? The second thing is, it's not always going to be like it's not like I Dream of Jeannie where you're like, bing, and then like everything shows up for you, like I always tell myself, hold the vision, hold the vision, hold the vision, hold the vision, hold the vision. I'm saying it a million times on purpose, hold the vision. And when it looks like it's never going to happen, you still hold the vision, and you hold the vision. Like, again, like me living where I live right now, like, I always wanted to live by the ocean. I always wanted to be, in a space and place where I could walk out my door and put my feet in the sand very quickly and see the ocean. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I held the vision without even expecting it, and it all just fell in my lap. When I was telling you this story about, me speaking to 12 people, so I actually honestly wasn't even sure that anyone would come when I did that. I was very early on in my career. And I wanted to be on stage as a bigger, like it felt like silly, my ego got in the way there for a moment. And finally, I just did it, right? I just did it. And so I think it's about taking action without knowing the how. holding the vision, especially when it doesn't look like it, and getting out your journal and just sitting with these pieces of you. Because if we're not aware of the stories, I think when we think we have it all figured out is one of the hugest blocks, right? Like I am still learning. I am still learning. I am still growing. I still have big, wild dreams that I haven't even begun to touch, right? Like, so when I got the idea to write Girl Awaken, I was shown very clearly it's going to be a movie. And I've known that. Like I got the inspiration and I was like, I want to write a book. I want to share a story that's going to activate people on a conscious and a subconscious level. That's going to be something that's interesting and inspiring that they can read, but they're also going to learn about awakening and self-love and divine communication and energy. And I could see it's going to be this movie because there's 3 books, right? And I really in the beginning was a little bit attached to it, but I hold that vision every single day. I hold that vision. I hold that vision. I didn't even know when the book was going to end up coming out. It was published now. I've had a producer reach out to me. I had a meeting with a director last week that's already read the book, that wants to move forward on optioning it. I have another screenplay person that's going to option it. And it's really about holding the vision. Now, it could be 7 years before this thing comes to where it's actually being filmed. It could be 2 years, right? But it's really about anchoring into that vision, not into the beliefs. I had 0 literary background before I wrote my book, but I felt a calling. And so if you don't have the proof, look for other people that have completed your dreams and let that be your proof. Also, you probably have more proof than you think, right? Like we really have got to start looking at the way the divine lines things up for us. So, there's so many different examples. I'm just thinking of all big ones right now. I want to think of a little one. Like, what's something little? Like, for example, maybe you're at a Starbucks and someone pays for your drink ahead of time. Like that is proof. That is proof of alignment. When things just start flowing with ease and you're like, I couldn't make this up. Seeing a rainbow could be proof of alignment, right? And things getting a little bit better and things working out in your favor. Maybe you find a $5 bill, or maybe someone says to you something that's so validating, and that is your proof to keep going. So we find what we're looking for. And if we're looking for failure, and if we're looking for things that aren't going to work, that's what we're going to find. If we're looking for inspiration and synchronicities, and if we're looking for success, we're going to find that.
You gave such great examples there. I love the visualization tip and, tuning into synchronicities, because those can be so powerful to tap into. And, it's interesting because I feel like shifting energy takes time, and we have to be patient with the process, because
Totally.
I think, one way of manifesting is like through the efforting and through like sort of a linear way of thinking of, and, what you're talking about is like really divinely allowing and surrendering to the process, which can be so beautiful. But like in my own experience, for me, the evolution of my business had to undergo so many shifts of my own energy, and I remember my mentor at the time saying to me, like, you need to carve out 2 days where you literally just are creating, like in a creative, like open space. And I like at the time, I'm like, that is absolutely crazy. Like there's just no way, because I had, at the time was like packing every hour of my day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that ability to like give myself the space and time to like bring forward creative energy and tap into my intuition. And, I wasn't able to like fully carve out those 2 days every week, but it was that intention set forward like a ripple effect.
Yeah. And, we don't expect to go to the gym and lift weights one day and have muscle tone, right? It's a similar thing. And it is about creating with energy versus matter, right? Like with a force is we're trying to create on a 3D level, but when we can connect energetically and tune into infinite possibilities, we're creating from that 5-dimensional space of anything is possible. And you do open up the door, you do fling open the doors for miracles and things to happen quicker. But it's also just, you might not see the proof quite as fast, or you might not see the results, or you're going to look at for different things. So yeah, I love that you brought that up as the force. We can create with force all day, but it doesn't feel good. And when we do things that don't make logical sense, but that are really aligned with our heart and our intuition, that's when we really, life gets juicy and exciting and fun.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations in terms of like new year intention setting? Or, I know we're entering like a really big portal right now leading
Hmm.
up to the 21st, which is really super exciting. But anything that you're doing personally to like really visualize and get set on the year ahead?
Yes. Yes. So a couple of things. You want to really, from an intentional space, turn up your vibration is the easiest way to say it. Turn up your frequency, turn up your vibration, and let the light in. There is so much light coming in, and sometimes that feels scary to us, and we don't want to let it in. And that's a whole nother conversation, but to let the light in. And what I mean by that is open yourself up, let yourself be still, let yourself be quiet, and align to your big, bold dreams. Think of a dream that couldn't come possible unless God, the divine universe, intervened. And you get into this is what I'm doing right now, and it's actually really fun. You get into the energy of it, and you can do it. I play sound bowls, so sometimes I'll do it with the sound bowls or with a meditation, but just get into this ritualistic space, light a candle, do something that raises your vibration, right? Dancing, doing a meditation, and then you sit with that big bold dream, and you anchor into that big bold dream, and you feel that big bold dream, and you let it in. And even just saying the prayer, like I've been saying a prayer every day in the morning, like, thank you, God, thank you, angels, thank you, universe, again, whatever it is for you. Thank you for letting this high vibrational light flow to me with ease and grace. Thank you for opening up my heart. Thank you for helping me let it in. And you just sit and you feel it, and you feel it swirling around your heart, and you feel it around your body. And you actually will start to get new ideas, right? And new intentions. And so for me, it is really about this year letting the light in and anchoring in, anchoring in, anchoring in to the big, bold dream without needing to know the how, without getting stuck in a story of why it can't happen. And really just, again, like even if it's something that you want in this moment and it's not happening, that's okay, because you're so anchored to the energy. You're so anchored to that vibrational piece of it. You're so anchored to the feeling and the frequency of it. It doesn't matter because it's already happened and it is yours.
Well, I'm getting so excited just, hearing you talk about that and really thinking about like, what do I want to call in for the new year? And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we really don't allow ourselves to dream big, and sometimes we'll have a dream and there might be like a voice in the subconscious that says like, oh, but that's not really possible. And I'm not going to really allow you to focus on that. And I think it is like taking the time to like really tap into that as if it has already happened.
Yeah. And again, with your energy. So like people might be like, how do I turn up my vibration? We already talked about that a lot, but it's, to your point earlier, it's not like you just meditate once or you just let the light in one time. It's you do it over consistency and find people that elevate you and continue to stay around them. Find your own rituals and continue to make a daily practice of it, and keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up and keep holding the vision. And don't, if it's something that's really a big dream that you're scared to tell people about, don't tell them. When I started speaking and doing certain things, I didn't need to tell everyone. I mean, eventually I did because it was on the internet and I was marketing. But like I kept it to myself and kept it to people that were supportive until I was so embodied in that space and place that someone else wasn't going to take me out, and my own subconscious wasn't going to take me out. And we're all going to have the bigger dreams that we have. We're all going to have that voice. And so again, just welcoming in that voice and saying, all right, come here, tell me why that you think that. And really deciding, is my heart going to have the keys to the ignition of my life, or are these stories in my brain going to? And it's our choice at any time who we want to give the keys to the car to.
Oh, you brought up such a good point that I wanted to ask you about, and that is the fact of like tuning out negativity.
Mm-hmm.
When you speak on big stages, and for example, your TED Talk got so much engagement, and it's like there's always going to be naysayers or negative that comes with a positive, and like how to really focus on that and not allow it to like affect your vibration.
Yeah, of course. So the more people that see our work, the more people we inspire, the more there will be that negativity. And we'll see it in our own lives with people that we love. And that's sometimes the most harmful or the most hurtful, not harmful, but hurtful. And it's really about you being so anchored. So if it's someone on a personal level, I love to really say, you know, they're doing the best with what they can, and they'll come around, and you set boundaries, right? And eventually they do come around. And then there's like some of your biggest cheerleaders, like the TEDx talk. So this is a big one, right? So my talk was about quantum physics, but I made it so layman, because I wanted a 13-year-old girl to be able to get it. And if I was about talking about atoms and molecules and things in a way that not everyone could receive it, it wouldn't have reached, you know, I think it's almost at 1.2 million now, all of these people. And so the intention with that talk was to help people turn up the vibration, to create a conversation in mainstream about frequencies and vibration, and awaken people, quite honestly. So when it first came out, and it had heat like fast, like if people were seeing it quickly, to the point where people were calling me and they're like, who's marketing for you? Like, who's getting this out? And I was like, God, you know, like the divine, the honest truth on this one. And then I started reading the comments, which if you do a TEDx, just go ahead, never read the comments, because you're going to reach a lot of people, and there's going to be nice things and not so nice things. And so a lot of the PhD people and scientists who really have studied the depths of quantum physics and all of these philosophies and theories that I don't even know, and really no one even really needs to know, but for them, that's their jam. And so they didn't love what I was saying because they felt like it was too layman and I was undermining some pieces of science. But that was maybe, I don't know, a very small fraction of the people that were like, oh my God, you changed my life with this. Oh my gosh, my mom finally understands what I've been obsessed with for the last 3 years. Thank you for this. Like, some people are like, I listen to this talk every single day because it gives me 16 minutes of inspiration. And so I have a choice. I could focus on that, or I could really focus on the other. And I'm going to be honest, I did get a little bit discouraged for like a hot second, because it got to my heart. And so what I did was I tuned in, what is this really about? And there's a quote, and I'm going to butcher it right now, but it was some famous baseball player. And he said, I love it when I get booed, because people don't boo nobodies. And
That's
so
true.
If you're not getting booed, you're not making enough noise. And if you're not having some toxicity, you're being too quiet. Because if you're not triggering people in a way, when you're triggering people, you're actually waking them up to where they need to have their own healing. And so as a light worker, as someone with a heart center purpose and mission, just get ready and know that's going to happen, and know that it will show you where you need to do your own healing. And then you give your energy to the people that love you and to the people that are supporting you. And I had learned from one of my mentors a long time ago, forgive and delete. Delete and forgive. But you can't forgive and delete on a TEDx, because you can't delete it. So I had to forgive and move on, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that is like that piece of just letting go of any need for external validation, and just like being really, really centered with how you feel on the inside, which is like all a part of the journey. So thank you so much for sharing that, Suzanne. This has been an amazing conversation. Let people know where they can go to connect with you.
Yeah, I'm always on Instagram. I love to play, and on my stories, and on the main page at Suzanne Adams Inc. Also at Suzanne Adams Inc. on Facebook. Definitely come check out my website, SuzanneAdamsInc.com. I have tons of free meditations and other amazing trainings, and would love to connect with any of you guys and help you turn up your vibrations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just want to ask you one final question. What are you most excited about? What's on the horizon for you that's like really setting your soul on fire?
I'm most excited about new possibilities and unknown terrain, right? Because this year it's been a huge pivot for me inside of my business, and new opportunities have shown up for me that I don't think would have shown up otherwise. And so I'm most excited for success and for anchoring into feeling of really spreading my mission in a bigger way, in a new terrain of uncharted waters and unexpected territory.
What a great thought to leave us with. You know, this year we're embarking upon is going to be filled with lots of new exciting possibilities. So
yeah, totally.
What a great time for us to really manifest and like you said, dream big.
Yes, absolutely.